Hi, this is Joan Norton, and here we are, August 5th, 2013, and we have another webcast that I'm putting together here. And the reason that we're putting this together is because I know the media has been going loopy concerning the whole issue about the Detroit bankruptcy filing. For those of you that this might come as new information, is the fact that Detroit is filing bankruptcy. They have some problems, and we'll go through those in a second. The big situation here is Detroit is the largest city to file for bankruptcy ever. Okay, that includes back to the Depression. Now, we all know Detroit has been in general decline for decades. In the 50s and 60s, Detroit, for instance, had 2 million people. It now has less than 700,000. The auto industry is coming back, but not to Detroit. It's coming to other areas of the country. The other thing is, as taxpayers, I'm sure you all enjoyed the fact that there was a bailout on a lot of Detroit. GM, of course, and then Chrysler. So, and the problem is, well, we have 2 million people, and now we have 700,000. We've got a very small tax base, and the tax rates are already very, very high, so it doesn't encourage growth. Unfortunately, we put this slide together. We wanted to do it quickly, so please forgive me, those of you that are English teachers out there. We have a misspelling. I'll give a prize to anyone that can guess what the misspelled word is. Anyway, moving right along. And the big problem is we have promised benefits to employees and former employees of the city of Detroit. So that's the dilemma. You know, we had 2 million and now we have 700,000. They're carrying the burden of all of the people, police, fire, teachers, etc., employees that worked for Detroit, the city, and they can't meet their funding for those pension benefits. Now, what's going to happen? We really don't know. This is unprecedented, okay? But let's look a little further about what happened here. We already heard about the population change. Basically, the wheels have come off of Detroit. I mean, here we are in 1903. We all remember that. And the Ford Motor Company was founded, and then General Motors, and I'm going left to right now here. And we were the arsenal of democracy. What does that mean? Something called World War II. 1940 to 1945, and you can see the chart how things are going up. The fact is that really is what broke the back of the Nazis and the Axis power, if you will, and that's how we won the war, was because of Detroit and because of the machinery and what we were able to produce. Then you see one of the high points, Motown Records. We all remember that, 1959. Then there was something called the race riots in 1967, and that's where we started seeing the decrease in population. And then we have oil crisis, and we know that that was a big problem with the car industry, because if you've got cars that are burning up 8 miles per gallon and we have an oil crisis, people aren't going to be interested in those cars. SUVs, etc. In 1974, Detroit became the murder capital of the United States. Not a good title. And you can see what's happening. Things continue to decline. The car industry got the bailout in 2009. And the murder rate in 2012, because again, we've got less people, poor, there are abandoned houses in Detroit. Whole neighborhoods have been abandoned, okay? And I was just recently saw something on 60 Minutes that it takes a half hour for a 911 call to be answered by the Detroit police. So we have the murder capital here, 2012. You can see the population's going down. And then, no surprise really to the bond market, but evidently it was a surprise to the media, because they always have their hands on the pulse of what's really happening. We see on July 18th, Detroit files for bankruptcy. And again, you can see how the ebbs and flows of this happened. This is unparalleled, what happened with Detroit. Now, I touched upon this briefly, but let's talk about what's happening about the pension. We have liabilities out there. In the case of Detroit, in the case of the states on the left, I did the top five. And in the case on the right, I did the bottom five. And strangely enough, some states have liabilities for pensions. Again, the teachers, the police, the fire, etc. These people are in service and then they retire, but they have big IOUs for them. And we can see the percentage of the state revenue for 2012 and what's available. You can see some of the states that have some serious problems. We talked about Detroit, that's a city, but Illinois, they're way underfunded. There's 241% that they owe, basically. Connecticut, 190, Kentucky 141, New Jersey, and Hawaii. Those are the top five states as far as not really funding for this big hole that's coming up, which is a payout for these people that are state employees that are going to be retiring. Who are the states that are doing a good job? And I must say, this is on the right, this is the blue, I'm stunned to see that New York is doing very well. And those of you that can remember, it was during the Carter administration, the New York City filed for bankruptcy. And one of the senators in Congress said, let them slowly twirl in the wind. We don't care about New York. We never really liked them anyway, so we're not going to bail them out. Flash bulletin, did we bail out New York City? Yes, we did. But we threw a lot of stones. We said a lot of mean, bad things. But yes, we did bail out New York City. Will we bail out Detroit, the United States government? I don't know. But I do know that we've bailed out General Motors. We bailed out AIG. We've bailed out several banks. I don't know. We might bail out Detroit. We might not. We can see Iowa's doing very well as far as pensions, Nebraska, et cetera. So the ones on the right are actually funding their pensions for their employees. They're doing a good job. On the left, you see the states that aren't doing a good job. They're in sort of that beige color. And certainly, Detroit is not funding well. So they're asking the state of Michigan, again, next highest authority, to bail me out. Okay? We have high taxes. We can't attract good industry here. We don't have many people working. A lot of people are on different welfare assistance. Detroit really is on its knees right now. So what does this all mean to you? Why are we having this discussion about Detroit? Well, let me just, put things together for you. First off, the majority of you that have tax-free municipal bonds, a vast majority of you are in Massachusetts. So this is just an example. And I use Franklin. A lot of you have Franklin. A lot of you have Eaton Vance. There are other certain mutual funds out there that invest in tax-free bonds. What do I mean by that? That means bonds, IOUs if you will, that are issued by the state of Massachusetts in this example. And you purchase them. In this case, we're using Franklin, and we're showing the insured tax-free, which means the fact that it will be paid back. But we're showing what the price per share was. And you're looking here about the middle of, maybe 1998, what have you, all the way up from there. And you're seeing there are up and downs that do occur. We had a big down that you can see somewhere around 2008. You might recall that was the end of the world. The stock market went from 14,000 to 6,000. So obviously bonds were rattled there as well. And then you can see it came out of that. You can see we had another downturn and we went up. And then this whole issue about Detroit and what the feds might do about in terms of increasing interest rates, again, that's had a down effect on bonds. Price per share. Okay, very important. One of the things that you get with these municipal bonds is that every single month you're getting dividends. And for most of you, you're reinvesting that. So my analogy that I've used with many of you is you're getting pennies that we're hoping will grow up to be dimes. But you're getting that dividend. And no one has ever lost their shares. This is not money, and you can see it's Class C here, that you should be in for 1 year. This is money for maybe 3 years, something like that. Please look at a 3-year period here, any 3-year period. Past performance is not indicative of what's going to happen in the future, but we do have past performance to look at, and you can see that it's that accumulation of the dividends. This is how you make money. If only we could buy some of these shares at $9 a share, like we could have in '08. Now they're down from where they were at their high of $12 a share. Now they're $11.50, I might add, which is still higher than our $9 a share. So again, the day-to-day pricing of this should not be something that you're looking at. People that look at day-to-day pricing are something called day traders. I don't have any clients that are day traders. And if I do, you're with the wrong financial advisor, because I'm not a day trader. I work with people that are investors, that are saving for retirement. They're saving for kids' education. They're saving for medium to longer term goal. They're not investing from day to day like day traders are. So that's the story in Massachusetts. It's double tax free. There's no state tax if you're a Massachusetts resident, and there's no federal tax. Now, why is this the way it is? Because it allows the states to compete in the bond market without the federal government giving them additional revenue. So there's this tax break, if you will. Now, during the last fiasco that was called Congress in 2012, there was some concern about maybe taking away the tax-free status of municipal bonds. The states went crazy because they knew it would be harder for them to raise revenue if the tax-free status was taken away. The tax-free status is still there for anyone in Massachusetts that invests in a mutual fund that's Massachusetts tax-free federal income tax funds, which, again, I'm using Franklin Templeton as an example. This is a chart of what you'll see, but clearly that's the past. No one knows the future. If we did, we'd all be betting on the right number for Friday's Megabucks. Let's talk about the nationwide, because this is the only one that might be affected by the Detroit bankruptcy. Here we have again around 1998, and you can see the chart. It's very similar to the one we saw in Massachusetts, the ups and downs and, what the price per share was, etc. You can see these are tax-free. These are nationwide. So if you're a Massachusetts resident and you're investing in this, that's great, but you're only going to get a small percentage of it state tax-free, okay? The part that's vested in Massachusetts, it might be 10%, for instance, an example, but you're only going to get that part of the portfolio here that's going to be tax-free. You will, for the state, you will be tax-free federally. And again, those of you that have been invested a while, you get your 1099s, and you can see what that is. But here again, we have that up and down. Franklin Templeton, Eaton Vance, you name it, American Funds, Fidelity, Vanguard, whatever, they haven't been investing all their money into Detroit. This was a well-known secret that this was going to occur, okay? Very well known. The media just happened to be talking about it now because I guess it was maybe a slow day with the Kardashians. Anyway, they're focusing on this now. But the point is, this is why you're invested not in individual bonds with a state or a city like Detroit. You're invested with the Franklin Templetons, the Eaton Vance American Funds, because they have already taken into account years ago, months ago, that Detroit was in serious problems. Again, I advise you to look at what the situation was in Detroit and how things had changed. $2 million to $700,000. Plus, they have huge IOUs that they have to the state employees. Clearly, there's going to have to be restructuring done. That's going to have to be figured out. My feeling personally is that it will be figured out. But again, it makes good noise for the media, something to make you nervous about. Okay? So hopefully that answers some of your questions concerning the muni bonds. You're not invested for an hour. You're not invested for a year. You're invested for several years. We're in good mutual funds, whether it be nationwide mutual funds or whether or not we're invested in Massachusetts. There's a little bit of bumpiness that occurred because it's not clear what the feds are going to do as far as interest rates are concerned. I feel very confident personally, speaking just for myself, that this is a little bump in the road. It's an excellent buying opportunity. Excellent buying opportunity for money that you might not need in 3 or 4 or 5 years or even longer. And the big thing is it's tax-free. And there's very few things that are tax-free. Now, again, sometimes it's also federal and state. Sometimes it's just federal tax-free. Do I know what's right for you in this particular situation? Obviously, we need to sit down and see what your risk tolerance is, when you need money, etc. But that's something that we can do on an individual basis. Please call my office. We can set up those appointments. But I wanted to show you reality, okay? And reality of those last 2 slides that we looked at in terms of where muni bonds were in the past and where they are now and exactly what occurred and why it occurred with the noise coming from Detroit. Now, on a happier note, we have a client event. And that's going to be Sunday, September 15th. And it's going to be at Florian Hall. It's a murder mystery. I believe that we're also going to have people like, I think Bernie Madoff might be coming. And, we might have some big bankers there as well. But anyway, we're going to be telling you that. We're going to be feeding you, of course. There's a lot of entertainment, as you can already tell. And I want you to save the date. We've been getting more and more calls about when this is going to be. The invitations will be mailed out in August, okay? And again, we need your feedback. We need you to say, yes, I'm going to attend. How many people am I going to bring? More than welcome to bring friends and family. Those of you in the past that have gone to my events, we always have a good time, always something different. We need to know what kind of meal you want, etc. So when you get those invitations in the next week or 2, we want those to get back to us as quickly as possible. So again, we'll have a lot of fun. And I want to thank you all for listening to this broadcast. Again, I always say this, please give me as a little attention, maybe 5 minutes, as the amount of attention that you give to CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Okay? I'm your financial advisor. You chose me. Okay? You didn't choose Wolf Blitzer or Bill O'Reilly. You chose me. So I appreciate the fact that you listen to these webcasts, and I will tell you what is going on, my take on it. And then any additional questions, please call my office. More than welcome to set up an appointment. We can review your portfolio, make sure that it's doing what you're thinking that it's going to need to do in order to get you to meet your goals. Thank you, and today is a beautiful day outside. Let's enjoy that.